I really do love puzzle games, and it all started with Superliminal. To be honest with you, I've found several other games that I've enjoyed, but none of them has really impacted me or hit quite like Superliminal. I've definitely heard more than once in the past month that the only thing that could top Superliminal is the Portal games. Well, I've finally gotten a chance to play them both, and I definitely have some thoughts. One criticism I have received in the past is that sometimes my videos feel a bit too much like an ad for Superliminal. Don't worry, this ain't gonna be that. What this is going to be is a discussion, powered by my thoughts after playing the Portal games. It made me really stop and think about what makes a puzzle game good. And today, we're going to count down the 6 most important aspects of puzzle design. Number 6. The story. As I've discussed in previous videos, we typically play video games because we want to feel something. A good story absolutely has the power of changing a game from just a blind video game to an experience, with not just puzzles, but emotions and other thoughts that might be running through your head while playing. Portal, the original one, has a relatively stale storyline nowadays of just having to escape the rogue AI, but in fairness, in 2010 that might have been a bit more unusual. Portal 2, on the other hand, has a much more creative plot that resolves much more interestingly. But to be honest with you, the downside is if you haven't played the first one, all those twists and turns will make no sense at all. Another puzzle game that comes to mind when we're talking about decent stories is Donut County. Even though it can be a little bit lowbrow sometimes, it's actually surprisingly decent. Actions have consequences. Moving on to number 5, the feel. I think we can all agree that for a game, especially a puzzle game, unique and creative mechanics that feel good are vital. I mean, when you really think about it, those mechanics are what brought you to the game in the first place, and one of the things that keep you playing. Take the Portal games, for example. They're constantly introducing new mechanics at a pace that doesn't feel too fast or too slow. However, oftentimes the introduction of these mechanics feels incredibly unintuitive. Early game, it's not too bad, but late game, they make things way too complicated, way too fast. Another puzzle game with particularly interesting mechanics is Biped, or Biped 2. And even though it's pretty interesting, after a while it all just kind of boils down to one question. How dexterous are you with your feet? Now let's compare that to Donut County. It's by far the most mechanically uninteresting game in this list. For the most part, if you move the hole around enough or throw stuff around enough, you'll figure it out.
What could possibly go wrong?
Moving on to number 4, the balance. I think we can all agree that the whole point of a puzzle game is to make you think a little bit differently. The problem with that is, if you bombard the player with too much new information or new concepts, it's going to be overwhelming. But if you don't give enough new information or concepts, then the player's not going to want to keep playing. I do feel bad that Manifold Garden keeps getting criticized on this channel because there was a lot of work put into it, clearly, but it's just so confusing. Which way is up? Is this a stair or a ledge? How the heck do I get there? Heaven knows. There's a humongous difference between subversion of expectation and bombarding the player with new information. One game that actually nails this balance is Viewfinder. They are constantly finding new ways to subvert your expectations and keep you on your toes, and I'm absolutely here for it. But possibly the best example of this balance is actually an old mobile game I'm sure you've never heard of called Does Not Commute. Every single car you're seeing here, I drove, and now I have to try not to run into any of them. The storyline follows a theme of which I am absolutely not in agreement, which is why this is the only place you're going to see it in this video, but I had to mention it. This brings us nicely to number 3, the mix. One of the best ways to keep that balance is by adding variety to a game. That helps keep the player engaged. Some games will simply use pattern interrupts to break gameplay loops. Others will introduce new environments entirely, all throughout the game. If you really think about it, the original Portal only really had 2 environments: testing chamber or not a testing chamber. Meanwhile, Portal 2 constantly keeps you guessing, always taking you to new variables even within those 2 categories that constantly keep you on your toes. I feel like the developers of Donut County knew that their game could end up being a little repetitive, And that's why, even between the regular dialogue breaks, there's sometimes some pretty interesting pattern hi. Okay, BK, just keep doing you. Anyways, as I was saying, Viewfinder unfortunately is quite a bit repetitive. There is one decent pattern interrupt.
Weird. Welcome back. A little too soon for my liking, but happy to have you.
I'll be honest, there is one other decent pattern interrupt toward the end, but it feels less like a pattern interrupt and more like an ending with extra puzzles tacked on after it. But that brings us to my biggest gripe with Viewfinder, and number 2 on this list. You are the story. Be advised, the remainder of this video contains spoilers. If a game has a story, you are meant to be the one experiencing it. If you're not, then what's the point? You're basically listening to a bad audiobook while playing a game. Heck, I may as well go listen to my attempt at a podcast which only has 2 episodes. This is the Achilles heel of Viewfinder. Unfortunately, even though sometimes you do hear live dialogue from the AI cat, for the most part you're listening to audio logs from dead people who don't know you exist. These puzzles are a security system to protect a machine that doesn't even work. It makes no sense. Compare that to Donut County, where you are the one actively being a horrible person. Portal, where you are the one actively running from GLaDOS. Portal 2, where you are the one actively trying to get back up to the top of the building. You are the protagonist. You are the story. That brings us to number 1. The pace. We all like replayable games. And while that might seem like an odd thing to say in a chapter called The Pace, when you think about it, if a game is too long, you're going to feel like you're drowning before you're even halfway through. Especially if you're a completionist like myself. And even more if you're slow like myself. Portal 2, for example, is one of the longest games I've played. The average runtime for a skilled player is 3 hours, and my first run took 12 hours. What you're seeing here is what a normal player would probably expect to be the end if they hadn't played the first game. And yet you're only halfway through. Donut County is also quite long. It's about a 2-hour runtime if you actually read all the dialogue. If you don't, it's only about an hour and a half, which is still a little bit long, but because it's simple, unlike Portal 2, the time absolutely flies. Portal 1 is on the opposite end of the spectrum, with your average runtime being around 45 minutes to an hour. It almost feels a little bit too short, but overall it is a very excellent balance of content and digestibility. A long game is not often a fun game, and that's why it's my number 1. But now it's time for our honorable mention, sound design. You see, sound design is not just for immersion. It actually tells you what you're doing. It's a puzzle game after all. Now this is an example of sound design done right. But now let's compare this to the original Portal.
In early versions of this map, playtesters would charge down the stairs without noticing what was creating the portals. We introduced an anti-pause in the action, what we call a gate, to help ensure that players stop and notice the portal gun making the explosion. A particle effect and a loud noise help draw their attention.
Yeah, I would imagine it would. But how does Donut County do? Honestly, it does decent. The sounds are super satisfying, the soundtrack is a bop, but sometimes the soundtrack completely overpowers the sounds. I do think Valve really did learn their lesson with Portal 1, because honestly, the sound design in Portal 2 is flawless. I'm just gonna shut up and let you listen.
Just a heads up, that coffee we gave you earlier had fluorescent calcium in it so we can track the neuronal activity in your brain.
Yeah, as if there is much. Anyways, now it's time to discuss the top 10 puzzle games I've ever played. Number 10. Manifold Garden. Mechanically confusing, hard to digest, no story, and therefore no story integration. It's very hard to want to keep playing this game. Number 9. Both biped games. There's a weak story with poor integration and high friction mechanics. It's fun, but for a very short amount of time. Number 8. Viewfinder. It's an excellent story, but horribly integrated and very repetitive. It's honestly a great game. If it wasn't for those couple things, this would have scored much higher on my list. Number 7. What the Golf. To be honest with you, this isn't necessarily a puzzle game, but it doesn't really have a good story, and there's therefore very little integration. Really, the only thing keeping you going is wondering how the devs are going to troll you next. Number 6. Donut County. To be honest, I feel weird about it placing this low on my list, but there are some kind of lowbrow moments that I'm not a fan of. There's a lot of text dialogue and a bit of repetition. Number 5. Portal 2. Honestly, this is an excellent game. I really wish it could have placed higher, but the sheer nuance and complexity in the mechanics, and also the 3-hour runtime even for a skilled player, is just too much. Number 4. The original Portal. To be honest with you, even though the plot is somewhat uninteresting, the endgame is excellent, and the whole game is just so much more digestible that it's really more enjoyable. Number 3. Wobbly Life. Yes, I know it's not technically a puzzle game, but it absolutely can qualify as one because there's puzzles all throughout. Digestibility and story integration are basically perfect because they're all bite-sized and all related to specific missions. The stories are decent, and the mechanics somehow always find a way to challenge your knowledge of the physics engine and subvert your expectations. Number 2. Superliminal. As I've called it multiple times, it's a perfect game. It's got a perfect story integration, perfect friction, perfect playtime, but it's missing something. Before I show you number 1, we need background music. That's right. Number 1 is Portal 2. In all this analysis, we forgot one important detail. Is it fun to play? Even though it was hard to learn, Portal 2, now that I understand how it works, is so fun to play that it easily beats out any other game here. Was it easy to learn? No. Did I enjoy my entire first playthrough? Also no. One thing that this particular game has going for it now, as I've been making this video, I've realized more and more, I can click into literally any part of the game, and I know that I will enjoy it. Any test chamber, any chapter, I know that I will have fun. That's special. The plot subverts expectations left and right, and once you beat Wheatley, it feels like so much greater of an accomplishment than Gladys. Gladys is calculated but antagonistic. Wheatley, who used to be your friend, is foolish, violent, and overconfident. Beating him, sometimes even using the results of his own actions, just feels so good. That's why Portal 2 ties or maybe even surpasses Superliminal as the best game I've ever played. Y'all were right. I should have listened.